He didn't own a pair of football boots for much of his childhood playing days. Before that, street football in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Barefoot, Sokogi district. One of 40 boys taken in by a mentor who saw something worth betting on. At 15, he got on a plane to Florida. No English, but he taught himself on Duolingo. Scored an extra time winner in a national championship final and was named Player of the Year at just 16. Then came a move to Spain. And next thing you know, after a 4 a.m. phone call, he was in the squad. First came Real Madrid in La Liga. Then 20 million euros to RB Leipzig. An 18-minute hat-trick. The second youngest in Bundesliga history. He's 19 years old. And right now he's tearing apart the Bundesliga. Manchester United and Liverpool are fighting over him at over 100 million euros. The same kid who didn't have boots. The story is one thing,
but the data is another thing entirely. And for Diomande, his data is incredible, right? You get Cinderella stories make for good Hollywood scripts, but they don't win football matches. And, you know, his isn't just a Cinderella story. He's a really impressive player on the pitch too. In terms of the type of player that he is, he's a winger that can play on both wings. He is right-footed, so I do think he is best off the left, but he can play off the right, which he's been asked to do a lot, considering RBL has Antonio Nusa, who's better suited off the left. So in order to platform both, he has to play on the right this year. In terms of how his data looks and what, you know, makes him so special, you can see right now the expected assists and the shot assists, the chances created. It's more than, at least relative to his winger-aged peers, he's contributing more as a creator than he is a goal scorer, even though he has a ton of goals. Just from like an expected output standpoint, that's because he's playing on the right this year. If he were to play off the left, like he was last year in a small sample at Leganes, he was a much higher level goal scorer. Obviously, he didn't score as many goals, but took more shots and he contributed more like from an expected long-term perspective. That's where his contributions were. So he can do both. Most wingers cannot do both off both wings, but that's something that he can do. As well, he's also like sneaky involved as within build-up. He completes a lot of progressive passes, especially for a winger. He's, in many regards, he's very ball to feet. He likes to come back and receive, which is something that is unique for a player of his athleticism. A lot of like really long speed wingers. I think he has the 4th fastest speed in the Bundesliga this year. A lot of them are like running behind type wingers. He can do that, but he's also very much ball to feet. And the thing that probably stands out the most for me is his tight space competency. He's so good at dribbling in tight spaces, creating things off of a dribble, like shots and then chances for teammates. So it's not just beating his man and then creating danger. That's something that he's especially good at too. So yeah, really just as a winger, he can do so much. For me, he is the complete package.
Yeah, and I think it's super interesting that he's playing a lot on the right this season, right? And he, like you said, as a predominantly right-footed player, although he is comfortable on his left, he's going to have less shooting involvement and more creating involvement. And when you think of a same-footed player on their strong side, you think of someone who's going to be able to just get to the byline and cut back and cross, and he's definitely very good at that. He's got 1v1 ability for days. But what's been really impressive for me as well is that he's also able to kind of dribble inside and then play little slide passes with the outside of his right foot a lot of the time through gaps because he's so good in tight spaces. He's got a lot of awareness. It's not just that get to the byline and cross it. There's a lot of central combination play as well, which again makes him way more unpredictable.
Yeah, and one of the things that's so impressive about his ability to create centrally, right? A lot of wingers that win a lot of dribbles, they do so from like exclusively out wide areas. You think of Jeremy Doku, just like off the charts for dribbles won and things like that. But a lot of them are, you know, beating one man to then just encounter another two out on the wings because of the gravity that he has. That's not necessarily the case for Diomande. This chart here shows dating back to the start of last year. So Diomande didn't really break through that 4 a.m. call to play against Real Madrid until March of last year. So he's really only been at this for about 13 months when a lot of the players on this list have gotten more time than that. This graph is, or this chart is sorted by goals generated where the preceding action was a take on. So the player won a dribble and then scored a goal. A lot of really good players on this list, right? Lamine Yamal, Kylian Mbappe 4, Elise 4, Rafinha 4, Yankuba Minte 4, Jamie Bino-Gittens 5 after what he did last year in the Bundesliga. There's only one player with 6, and that's Yan Diomande. What he's able to do from a dribbling to create a shot perspective and create a quality shot perspective is really, it's not unheard of, right? There are other really high level wingers that do it, right? I would still say that's players like Lamine Yamal are probably even better at this still, even though the numbers do lean towards Diomande. But it's not just that he can create shots. It's, if you look at this column here, the XG per shot, the 0.2 XG, he is averaging a big chance. Like these are big chances. A 20% chance of scoring is a big chance to have generated from a dribble. If you look at a lot of the other players, it's basically half of what he has. A player like Lamine Yamal. So what he's able to do as a dribbler in tight spaces to beat his man and then generate quality shots, it's really, I don't know, it's unparalleled right now in football.
And that's a really important point, because I think people might look at this, right, this list here, and they'll see Bino-Gittens in second, who's obviously struggled at Chelsea, and they'll say the classic Bundesliga tax, right? And I think Bundesliga tax often comes from the amount of spaces that Bundesliga defenses tend to leave in behind, or just space in general, because a lot of them like to press aggressively, play high up. But if you watch Diomande, a lot of these goals or shots that he's taking, there's 1, 2, 3 players in front of him before those shots are coming off. He's doing it in central areas at times. It's not like he's just exploiting space and then maybe beating one player and shooting. There's much more intricacy and crowdedness that he has to beat to get those shots off. So he's not someone that I feel is really, really benefiting solely off Bundesliga tax. There's a lot more to his game that can obviously translate.
Yeah, I do want to see it in the Champions League or the Premier League before, like, we certify that there is no Bundesliga tax applied here. That still very well could be the case. But even if you apply like a healthy Bundesliga tax, he's still in a really good area. It's like taxing $1 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, there's still a lot of money left over even after you pay the taxes. This graph sort of shows how unique he is in his ability and the quality of shots from take-ons. Over on the x-axis down here, it's percentage of non-penalty expected goals that was preceded by a take-on. So the amount of like self-generated or like dribbles, the percentage of your, like, the value of your shots that come from dribbles, right? You see mostly wingers down here, Doku, Nusa, Jamie Bino-Gittens. Wingers are more down here. And then over here is non-penalty XG per shot on the y-axis. So the quality of shot, independent of the dribbling, just the overall quality of your shot. You see strikers are up here, right? There's a give and take where the more that you dribble to create, the less quality your shot is, because you cannot dribble to create in super tight areas unless you are Yan Diomande or Yankuba Minte. They're the two kind of graph breakers on this that are able to, in Diamande's case especially, if you look at these are where the shots come from dribbles, in pretty central areas, right? It's not like he has like if you were to look at Lamine Yamal's, it'd be a bunch of shots here. It's where he beats a man, he cuts inside, and he's able to finish and get a shot that's a lower quality chance, but I mean it's still a good chance. But Diamande's they're really central. He's beating players with a dribble in central areas, in crowded boxes, and he's able to find shots and score goals. It's really something to behold, because it's a really, 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 really rare trait. Yeah, and there's one other point that I guess it wouldn't show in this graph, but you see he's out by Yan Diomande is out by Yankuba Minte, and okay, so then there's like two kind of graph breakers. The difference would be Diomande just has a higher XG overall. He just creates more chances. So even though that's not what this is showing, keep in mind that, okay, you might think Minte and Diomande are similar in that regard. Minte just shoots a lot less. So the percentage of his like XG that come from take-ons, it's coming from a smaller sample than what Diamande's is.
Yeah.
So that's especially why Diomande is, really cool in this. The other point I want to make about him is we've touched on, I mean, we haven't really touched that much on it, but he's an incredible runner on and off the ball. He's really fast. He works hard there. Obviously, he's a goal scorer from a dribbler, which is a really, really rare trait. Also, like, you'd forgive him for being lazy defensively, but he's not. He tracks back a lot. against or for Leganes last year. It was like almost off. It was like fullback level defensive output. This year, a little less than that, but presses really well, wins the ball back all over the pitch. I mean, you can see off both wings. He's tracking back and he's pressing up high. I mean, you'd forgive him for, like I said, you'd forgive him for being lazy, but he's not. He really he checks all three of the boxes, which you don't find wingers that can do all three of running on the ball, pressing, and regaining control off the ball, and also have in like a quality end product. Because usually when you do that much running off the ball and on the ball, you don't have the legs to finish, but Diomande does.
As a player kind of rises in stardom and talismanic kind of figure, I think the off the ball work is always going to reduce a little bit. And I think that's okay because managers probably want some of these guys to save their energy a little bit. But it just shows that when he is having an off day, you're not going to lose something from him out of possessions. You're always going to get that graft from him, regardless of how he's doing on the ball in that day, which is like the bare minimum that a manager will always want. Like every single manager would love that. And I think that's really key because, there's certain on the ball players that if they are having the off day, then they're bringing nothing to the team. And someone like Diomande, if he is having an off day kind of technically or on the ball, you're still going to get that off the ball work. And, those off days are very rare for him at the moment, but it's definitely something that he can always fall back on and a foundation that he has.
Yeah, and you mentioned he said like talismanic. This is a simple filter just to put into context how incredible he's been this season. So this is over the past 8 years, teenage seasons where non-penalty XG is greater than 0.2, so expected goals are greater than 1 every 5 matches. Same with expected assists, and then the dribble success rate is greater than 50%. It's nothing but bangers. It is absolute cinema. The level of player that he is on right now for his like expected output, his ability to score and create and dribble. It's Desiree Doué, Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz, Lamine Yamal, and him. That's it. He's in really rare territory.
So when I look at a winger, right, in an attacking sense, I always think of kind of three main jobs, and some wingers have maybe two out of these three. A lot of wingers only have one out of these three attributes, but very rare that a winger has all three. And those are the ability to go 1v1 at a fullback, so kind of round, get to the byline. I'm thinking, like your Jeremy Doku is probably the best at this, and then often cutbacks. The ability to come central and combine, so kind of play off the striker, little give and goes, maybe as well, like these kind of half space crosses. So playing more in the half spaces rather than out wide. And then the other one is like the ability to mainly probably on transition, but sometimes in more settled play is like the ability to run off the ball and run in behind, often between the opposition centre back and fullback, and kind of receive it in space and be able to shoot, right? And be more of a goal scoring winger. That's how I see a lot of wingers maybe scoring their goals, as well as, cutting in and shooting from here against more settled teams, but also being able to run in behind. And it's so rare that a winger is capable of doing every single one of those things. And Diomande has all three. Like, he has insane footwork and like body feints to go 1v1, and obviously rapid speed. He has the kind of head up nature where he's always got his head up to combine. He knows exactly what's around him. That's really difficult and often quite rare for 1v1 or dribbly type wingers to be able to keep their head up and be able to play with other people, because sometimes it's a lot of head down work. He's got that. Now, the thing that not worries me, but I really don't want him to lose, is the ability to run off the ball and run into space. And I think sometimes when players get really, really good, they want the ball to feet a lot because every top player loves the ball at their feet, right? They don't want to do the running off the ball necessarily. Now, someone like Sadio Mane, Mo Salah in their prime, I think Sadio Mane is probably a better example because I think he was more complete than Salah. He never lost that. He was able to get it to feet, but he never lost the threat of in behind. I think if you can keep both of those things, then you make it so hard for defenses because they don't know whether to get tight to you. They don't know whether to step off you. And if you can continue to have both those things in your locker, then you've got someone that is pretty much undefendable. So I really hope, in terms of, and I think that often this comes down to like not necessarily ego, but that kind of impatience of not making those unselfish runs. So I really hope he continues to have that impact as well. And as we've said earlier, a lot of this is being done on his weaker side, not his stronger foot side, but I think he's more suited to the left flank where he can do all of those same things, but probably some of them to a higher level. So that's kind of how I feel about him. Yeah, so where you've got Liverpool and Manchester United chasing him supposedly, although I would be very surprised if any of the top clubs are not trying to sign him. So yeah, what's your kind of envisaging of him this summer?
Yeah, like you said, he could go really anywhere. Since he can play on both wings, that allows the ability for a team. They don't need to, if they're just looking for like one specific position, well, he can actually do either wing. So that's one thing. I selfishly, quite selfishly, think that he would be best suited at Liverpool. We do have a need for the type of attacker that he is, direct. We're having a difficult time breaking down deep blocks. I think we're one of the teams we do have the highest, I think, number of touches in the final third, but we're still like, fifth or sixth or seventh in terms of like generating chances off of that. So it's a lot of stale actions in the final third. I think having a player with his dynamism to be able to dribble is something that could really improve the team, and also just having runners around Florian Wirtz will open things up for him. But I mean, at Manchester United too, there's a place for him there too. I think probably off the left wing. I know Cunha's there now, but he's a different kind of winger than Cunha. Cunha is more like almost like a hybrid center forward, where Diomande is like a true pure winger. I think having that element in the team as well could, depending on what direction they go with the manager, could bring a lot to them too.
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about squad building and finding the right fit. Diomande is someone that doesn't need a certain tactical framework to perform for me. So whether you have an overlapping fullback, whether you have an inverted fullback, whether you have like a deeper fullback, whether there's a striker that runs in behind, whether there's a striker that wants to come short, Diomande can work with all of those different conditions and be absolutely fine. So I really do think he has the choice of clubs, and the clubs will have to pay a lot and convince him, because I do think he could probably step into any of the top teams and make a real impact.